Welcome to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. Jack, Bryce, and Zach Hewlett are here hosting again, and today we're joined by Allan Slater. How are you doing, Allan?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Scarborough in the east of England.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our format is we talk about pre-mission, anything leading up to, how you decided to serve a mission or getting your call. We want to know that kind of backstory. Then we'll skip over the mission and we want to know what you've been up to since you got back. And then we'll go back and reminisce. So start us out with how you ended up in Scotland.
Okay, well, I mean, ever since I was a small little Allan, and I've always wanted to serve a mission. And I remember once Elder Ballard came to visit Nottingham, because I'm originally from Nottingham, and then moved up here when I got married. But yeah, Elder Ballard came and visited Nottingham, and he served his mission in Nottingham as well, so it was very special to him. And I can remember after the meeting, and I called him outside, and he's like, "Are you going to serve a mission one day?" And me being a little, massive glasses back then, and I looked up at him and was like, yeah, and I'm really excited. And ever since then, it's just grew and grew. I was like, I've always wanted to serve a mission. Fifth generation of my family are LDS, and it was the first opportunity of a member of my family to serve a mission as well. So getting up to serving a mission, I went out with the missionaries as much as possible back in my own ward. And then when I got my calling, and I was so excited, and I had to wait till all the family got home. So I spent the day out with the missionaries again, and they got excited, and was telling me about what to expect on missions and that. And then I opened it up, and I'll admit, at first I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to go abroad. But then, I know that the Lord sends us where we need to be. And I knew that the people of Scotland needed me. Read through the pamphlet, and got to read a little bit about a mission president and his wife, and and then it started to sink in as you start preparing to go into the MTC. And then boom, you're there. But since being back off the mission, it's been up and hill, rocky, up and down. I've got back, and I was just trying to find a job, so I was working in a cinema, and then I got married, and that didn't work out so well. And then I then moved from cinema to into manufacturing. So I manufactured education furniture. And then I got married again, which is where I am now. Moved up to Scarborough, and I now work in bathroom and tiles. And my wife has 2 children already, 2 twin girls. And we are both expecting our next child, my first child, her third, next month.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
How old are the twins?
They are 9. They'll be 10 this year, and that's So it'll be exciting. They're excited to have a new baby sister, and
man, that's so
absolutely
cool.
willing to help. I missed all
good age to be helpers there. That's
absolutely
good.
Yeah. I missed all that, all the pre-toddler stuff and all that, but at least I get to do it this time. They're brilliant. They're all brilliant.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, take us back then to, when the mission started. We'll go through, you can start at the MTC, and we'll just walk through areas, companions, whatever you want to talk about. Sounds good.
So I was in the Preston MTC, as most others were. It was a crazy one, because I got paired up with a missionary who at that time was dating my sister as well. And
What?
So I knew him before we went into the MTC, and I ended up marrying her after as well. So it was like, I was companions in the MTC with my future brother-in-law.
Man.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because we just bounced off each other, and to be able to then learn the gospel, learn the missionary lessons together as well, and then to go out tracting and or street contacting, and it was an experience, and didn't all go to plan at times.
So remind us, this is April 2007, you said?
Yeah, April 2007. I went in on the 25th. 2007.
Good.
Seems a lifetime long now. A lifetime ago.
It has been.
Yeah. I was in the MTC with two other S.E.M missionaries, Elder Justin Van Leuven and Elder Alistair Farley. And it was good to get to know them in the MTC, but then also throughout the mission, because at the end of the day we all cross each other at different parts of our mission, and I got to serve around Elder Farley a couple of times in different areas, which was good. And so it was good to kind of go through the journey with at least one person, a lot of it. And Elder Farley was also from England as well, and he was only a couple of miles away from where I live, so it was good to know somebody local as well.
Yeah.
After getting to the mission field, and it was just the welcoming into Scotland, which is like, it just, if you were enter Scotland for the first time, it's how you'd want to come in. So we met at the train station, President Frederick and the APs met with us, and as we walked out of Edinburgh train station, there was a bagpiper playing the bagpipes across the road, and it was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is how you'd want it to start, isn't it? Just
that's awesome.
Scotland.
I love it.
Yeah, and that's always stuck with me. Your first experience in Scotland, you got to experience a bagpiper, and we then went to the mission home, and the next day we got our areas. Two of us were assigned to go to Glasgow, and the other one was going to be staying in Edinburgh, and I ended up staying in Edinburgh, and that's where I had two trainers at the time. I had Elder Christian Lucas and Elder James Boughton, and that was a great experience. Very two different elders as well. They start off by
indeed, sorry. Knowing both of them, you're right. That's very funny and very true.
It's P Day on the first time when you were on your first day, and I didn't know that. I didn't know it was P Day, and they both decided to play pranks on me on my first day as well, and that both got me really good as well. And the first one, went to go see an inactive sister who was on her way back, but they decided to tell me that she was an investigator, and during the lesson, Elder Lucas got up, got his scriptures, and went over to her and put his hand against the book. It's like, you need to repent. And he was proper going for it. I thought, wow, this is how they do it in Scotland. Repentance. And I was like, wow, this is my companion who's doing this. We're going Book of Mormon style here, calling people to repentance. And it was great. And I didn't suspect anything of it. And I left the lesson, and all three of us got back into our car. I was like, wow, I've got two good trainers here. They're teaching me straight, just go bold, just go straight in. And then we went to another appointment straight after, and this was a sister who was learning about the church and was scheduled to get baptized, and she had a couple of word of wisdom issues. My companions told me that she had a alcohol word of wisdom issue, and she didn't. She was progressing really well, but they had planted a massive jar of apple juice, which kind of like whiskey. And anyway, during started teaching about the word of wisdom, and the sister, she was like, "Oh, elders, let me get you a drink," and got us a drink, got us a little cake and that. And I was like, "Well, I saw where that juice came from, and I thought it was whiskey. But anyway, halfway through the lesson, I didn't see this, and I think I would have absolutely blew my nut if I saw it, because Elder Boughton took a swig of the drink as I was reading through Doctrine and Covenants 89, and I didn't notice one bit. And, yeah, as it got to the point in 89 where it says here about strong drinks, I thought, I'm going to go Elder Lucas here, and no strong drinks. Yeah, I made it clear. I was like, if it works in the first lesson, it's going to work in this lesson. And anyway, after that, this sister kind of really put pressure on me. It's like, Elder Slater, you've not touched any of your drink yet. And straight, I bowled it, and I was like, I'm not thirsty. And I just kind of like, I was like, no, I'm not thirsty. And then suddenly, she just gave in. She just caved in. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he's pretty much on his knees. So they all came clean. Some of it was apple juice. And then I got to enjoy the drink after, and knowing that there's no issues being broken there. And then they told me that the first point was a total, that she was actually a member coming back active again. And then it just set up the whole of the day, and then the rest of my time with them.
That's brilliant.
That is pretty funny. Very much Christian Lucas, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was only with them both for 3 weeks, so after 3 weeks, Elder Lucas got called to be a zone leader, and I think there was some shuffling around in the mission, and Elder Boughton went to a different area. So then I then got my third trainer of the first transfer, which was Elder Roy Peckham. Oh, wow. And another great elder, and this, I felt like Elder Peckham really went tough on me, and it's like he was just going to make sure I knew all the strings of like the area book, and to the point where some days we were driving around, and my main job while we were driving around was you update the area book, and you need to call this member, you need to call this friend, and to arrange appointments and that. So he kind of like, it's like, this is how we're going to do missionary work. We're going to make sure we're on top of things. The area book's always up to scratch. And at times they asked me, this is so hard. And I thought this was this is not what I did when I was out with the missionaries back on my ward. And he kind of like hit me up, and it's like, this is how missionary is. This is what we're going to be doing. And again, I was I was only with Elder Peckham for 3 weeks, and so I got through 3 companions and 1 transfer.
Wow!
Just because of different dealings on what was going on in the mission, and that's so. I finished my first transfer, 3 companions down, and still in Edinburgh. Served in the Leaf area, and then I got given another companion, and this was Elder Samuel Batt, and he was an Englishman from Bristol, I think I remember, and we did well. I enjoyed him, and he was down to earth guy, and we just nailed down and got on with it, and saw members a lot, and I was out of Edinburgh at the end of that transfer, and so I was there for 2 transfers, and then I got sent over to Dundee Stake, where I was in Kirkcaldy ward.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, I got transferred to the. I think he was the only Italian at the time. I think Elder Alberto Macconi. Yeah, you know him?
Oh yes,
yeah.
I was there when he was trained. Just a
week. Really?
His last 6 weeks, or my last 6 weeks, was his first 6 weeks, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, went into Kirkcaldy, and the area it wasn't thriving, and so they just had to sadly put a couple of friends away, to the side. They weren't progressing, And so I went in there with I went in there. Not a lot of stuff was going on, so it was our job to start preparing the area again. And this is where I actually kind of have one of those missionary experiences where, it only happens on a mission, or, doesn't happen to me, happens to that missionary. And so we was looking for new people to teach, and we thought the best way of starting is just go through the area book and just go on what pastor missionaries have taught. And so we had a prayer, and we started going through the area book, and Allan McConney kept turning the pages, and I was still fully new to this, so I was just going by his lead. And Allan McConney kept searching through, and they pull out a teaching record, put it to the side. I was like, that person needs contacting. But then he got stopped at one, pulled it out, and was like, I'll say this one needs contacting now. So got on the phone, and then it was a sister, and she was very receptive. She was like, "Oh yeah, elders, yeah, please come around." And I was like, "Wow, yeah, that's good. We've only been doing this a couple of minutes, and we've already got someone to go around and teach." And the minute we got around there, she was like, "Yeah, elders, I'm glad you called. I'm glad you came round." And that she had two children as well. And then she was like, when you called, I'd just been got off my knees, and I wanted to know what direction I needed to go. And her partner was a Jehovah's Witness, and she just wasn't going for it. And she had investigated with our church before, and she just like, I don't know what to do anymore. So she got on her knees, and she was praying, and then the next thing she knew, I was on the other end of the phone asking if we should come by, and she came by, and me and Elder Connie, we was like, you always get that you always get that saying, golden investigator.
Yeah.
And I felt that was like, it was one of our golden investigators. She just soaked up the gospel. She had an 8-year-old son who just soaked up the Book of Mormon. We gave him the picture version, he read through it in 2 days. And so after that, he was like, I need another challenge. And we gave him the full adult version of the Book of Mormon, started reading through that, to the point where we went round one day, and he was like, he had a discussion with it was his dad, who was at the Jehovah's Witness. And then he was just kind of laying it down. I was like, no, kind of like, this is the church. This is the church I need to be in. And he was showing him scriptures from the Book of Mormon, and I was like, wow, this is an 8-year-old doing this. And I was like, whoa,
incredible.
It is. Wow.
And I'm just going to put that story just aside a minute, because we'll get back to that story in a minute, because Elder McConney didn't see the baptism through, and because he then got transferred out. But me and Elder McConney, we had a lot of exciting times. We got to teach a lot of people, got to spend a lot of times with the members in Kakari. We also had a really interesting P day one day, where him and another German elder, I can't remember what Elder Visa, I think his name was, or Heinz, I can't remember. Anyway, they had a cooking competition, and so it was Italian food v German food, and at that time I was in the same area, same ward as Elder Farley, so we had two Englishmen judging Italian and German food, and Elder McConney was such a good cook. He made his own sauce and pasta, but the German food was better at the time, and because I like beef stroganoff, and it was beautiful. But no, the pasta was. He'll watch this now, and then he'll realize that I was lying all this time, and I said that he won. Well, no, Elder McConney, we had a lot of good times, and I loved the work with him, and he was so pumped up to do the work, and a great guy to learn from. And he then got shipped out, moved area, and I then got given an elder John Powell, and he came in, and it started off a bit slow, and I think he had just come from down south in one of the smaller branches at the time, so probably not a lot of people down. I never got down that far in Scotland, Beef area and that area. So I always had a lot of people to see every day and that. But yeah, we got cracking, and we had a lot of good experiences with members. Me and Elder Powell. And then this is where I'm going to bring back the sister again, because this is we're just coming up to general conference, and zone leaders came over, and I was just seeing how we were doing, and so our district leader came over, and I was like, elders, anyone we could baptize? And then straight away the sister came to mind. I was like, well, yeah, she's ready, and but we had planned for her to be baptized after general conference, and then I was like, I feel like we could do that now, and so she was like, elders, go and call up the sister and invite to be baptized this Sunday. And I was a little bit nervous about this because just a week before, I'd had a meeting with our bishop in Kirkcaldy, and he's like, elders, I don't want to have a surprise baptism put on my doorstep. and apparently they had bad experiences in the past where missionaries have just gone baptized without the ward knowing, and so he was just kind of clearing this up with me and Elder Powell. I was like, elders, I don't want a surprise baptism, and now I have to call him up saying I want to baptize his sister and her son this week. So anyway, I didn't worry about the bishop. I got in contact with his sister, and I was like, I feel the same as as my leaders, and that you should be baptized this week. We've got general conference coming up, and there is a big period where we would have to probably delay the confirmation from the baptism because of it worked out something like that, and this is why it was best baptized before, and so we could baptize her on Saturday and then confirm her on the Sunday. And she was like and ahhing at first, but then she was like, no, let's do it. And so it was then my job to go and get in contact with the bishop and let him know the good news.
Yeah.
But it was weird because he was like, he said to me, Allan Slater, I'm very disappointed in you. And but he's like, but it doesn't really matter because I'm getting released tomorrow anyway. And so we had a new bishop ready in for the baptism, and but that was just a little bit funny part to the story. But she got baptized, and that Sunday, that Saturday, and then the Sunday we got to confirm her. And it was brilliant. Her son as well, baptized her 8-year-old son, and it was brilliant. It was beautiful, and she, as far as I'm aware, she's still in the Dundee stake down in Dunfermline now.
Nice.
Yeah. After that, I stayed in Kirkcaldy, and Elder Powell, he then got moved out, and he got replaced by an Elder Samuel Liddell.
Yeah.
And me, I loved Elder Liddell, and we had a lot of common as well because both liked our football or soccer, and so we had a lot of common. Both loved playing it, and but also I saw us. I thought we were like the Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, we just bounced off each other. Yeah, we were, and I felt so comfortable together, and we got a lot of work done as well. But we delved into more of a kind of the suburb area of Kirkcaldy, and we ended up teaching a lot of friends who had drug issues and that, who saw us as it was like, oh, these people can help, and that they're looking for God. And we've all come across them at some point on our mission, and they were absolutely brilliant. And it's brilliant to the point where they were like looking out for us as well when we were walking around in the dark. And Elder Little, he was just so brave and confident that one day we were walking to see this family, and as we were walking through this car park, there was a group of youths. And they were breaking into a shop, and I was like, Elder, let's keep on walking, just keep on walking. And it's none of our business. We don't need to get involved. But then he was like, nope. And so he just turns around and walks straight towards her. And I was like, and starts telling them off, and then starts, you need to repent. What is with everyone? Just calling everyone to repentance, just like that. But no, it started off with about 5 of them breaking into the shop. We stopped them and started talking to them about the church. And then by the time we left, there was 17 of them, and there was 17 youth all gathered around us, and we were inviting them to come to church. And weeks before that, we'd had name calling from probably a lot of these youths, and from that day onwards, every time we got seen throughout this shopping complex, it was like, elders, waving at us, elders, come and have a chat with us, and that, and that all started just by Elder Little, was like, just braving it, and it's like, let's go and stop these people, and let's put them in the right direction.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
that's definitely a defining factor between Glasgow Neds and Kirkcaldy Neds, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we would visit with his family a lot, and we told him about this story, and it was like straight away they're like, elders, they come near you, just let us know, we'll sort them out. So we had a lot of Kirkcaldy, watching our back, but we one of our big friends in Kirkcaldy, which me and Elder Little were teaching, was an elderly woman, and a lovely elderly woman, and she was so open to the gospel, and to the point where she was like, I'm ready to be baptized. Baptize me. And she had a couple of issues which she needs to iron out. Tea and coffee was one of them, and we I can't remember, once we actually went there and we switched all of the tea and coffee for Kiro, which is a substitute for tea and coffee, as you may know.
Yeah.
And but we had a lot of laughs with her. I'd always go and tell her the same joke every time we'd enter, just to make sure that she was taking stuff in. I'm just worried about the age, and the same joke I would tell every time we went by would be, why do giraffes have long necks? And does anyone know why giraffes have long necks?
Why?
It's because they have smelly feet. And it's not a great joke at all. Every time me and Elder Little would go over to his sister's house, I'd tell her the same joke every time. And just to make sure everything what we were saying, she was remembering. They have smelly feet, Allan Slater. And I was like, yeah. And at least everything's going on. I know that. Yeah. Sadly, I didn't get to see her get baptized, because I then got moved out. And Elder Little got to see that through, and I then got moved up to Aberdeen. I've never been so far north in my life. and I ended up there being there most of my mission as well. I ended up being there a total of 9 months.
Wow.
And I got paired up with Elder Preston Kelly to start off with.
Yeah.
Yep. We started off in the Bridge of Don ward. So I was in the Bridge of Don 2 area, and I say that because I got around every single area in the Aberdeen city. And I started in Bridge of Don 2 with Elder Kelly. And one thing I liked about Elder Kelly was he really got on with the members. And the amount of times we were in members' homes teaching them the gospel, just trying to get referrals from members. And I was, I don't think I hardly ever knocked on a door. But this was around the time when I feel like the Scotland Mission was trying to phase out knocking on doors, because at the end of the day we all know that it's not effective. And we had goals of a baptism goal to reach to, and the way that we were going to do that was through the members. So Elder Kelly was straight on the board, like, yeah, this is how we're going to do it, Elder. We're going to try and get members to give us their friends to teach. And that's so. He was always in members' homes, and he was a straightforward missionary. And he's told me what, we're doing this, we're doing that, and that what was what. So I liked him. So he was straightforward with me, and he was straightforward with the work. But I just loved it that we were always in members' homes, teaching the members, getting DAs as well. So I was fed well in Aberdeen. I was only with Elder Kelly for one transfer, and then I got moved over to Bridge of Don 3 area, and this was across the city as well. I got paired with a very enthusiastic, fiery new missionary, Elder Paul Burnett. He'd only been out 6 weeks, and he had that Utah fire as well. And so he was straight like I'm so young, I'm so up for this, Elder. Let's go out, let's baptize everyone. And he was always on the go. And at times we sometimes didn't see eye to eye, because his ways of things were a little bit different to what I've just been taught from a mission so far. And he had that fire in him, so I was like, okay, let's give it a try, let's do it. Excuse me. Again, got into members' homes, and because it was spreading through the mission at that time. It's like, the only way we're going to do this, reach our goals, is to do it through the members. And it was interesting with him. One teach we went in, and we was teaching this woman, and her fella walks in, and he walks in drunk, walks in waving around a gun. And we took a member with us in this teach as well. This guy walks in, and he sits right next down to the member, and waving this gun around. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna help you." I think it was mainly like a BB gun. There's nothing really too powerful, but still, if you're gonna get caught in the eye with that, it's gonna be painful.
Yeah.
And I remember this woman was like, let me take it off you, wrestling this thing off, this gun off him, and I was like, "Oh." Well, I mean, it was just like, because I come from Nottingham, and back in the day there used to be a lot of gun crime in Nottingham, and I was like, I want to stay away from that as much as possible. And but other than that, it was still fire. It's like, no, we're still going to teach this. We're still going to teach this lesson. And it was just, let's just see it through to the end. If one of us gets shot, we'll patch us up later, and we'll carry on. But it was fun times with Elder Burnett, and I just loved his enthusiasm for the work and how fired up he was just to get on with it. And even if there were some dangers around. At that time as well, I had my zone leaders were Elder Black and Elder Halford. I don't know if you came across them. Yeah. They were. I really enjoyed serving under them in the Aberdeen area. And Elder Halford, he was quite local to me at the time, and actually he's quite local to me. He's only up the road in a place called Billingham. Right. But those two elders, I was excited to serve under them as well. So they really put on we need to get into members' homes. We need to teach the members so we can get referrals. Now after Elder Burnett, he then got moved away, and I then got Elder Samuel Liddell back to serving me for a short period of time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I was absolutely excited. It's like, oh, Darcy and Hutch are back together, and we are ready to set this on fire again. And I mean, I think he had a bit of a rough time, and that's so President was like, you two were great together. Let's just get the ball rolling again. And that's so we got the ball rolling, and we spent a lot of time. I don't know if you knew Aberdeen very well, if you served it. So
yes.
you know the area, Tory.
Yep.
I'm hoping I'm saying that right. It feels like ages since I said it. Southern Aberdeen. Right. Tory, I think I said that right. And we spent a lot of time, me and Elder Liddell, we spent a lot of time in Tory. And again, we came across a family who had a couple of habits which they wanted to kick. And we got invited around so many times. Now, this family, they made up a lot of my funny stories of my mission, because every time we'd go around there'd be somebody new every time. So we're trying to work with members here. We are now working with investigators to bring their investigators. So we were teaching investigators' friends, and they were so excited about learning about the gospel that every time we'd turn up, there would always be somebody new there. To the point where, sorry,
that's awesome. I love it. It's not an easy task to get people to bring their friends around. So when they're just bringing them willingly, that's a big deal.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And her name was Teresa, and she was just so pumped to hear the gospel. But she wanted everyone to know. And then one day, me and Elder Liddell walked in, and there were two new people there. Like, there was always a new person there. And we never got through pretty much the second lesson with Teresa most of the time, because there would always be someone new. So we'd teach them the restoration, or at this occasion we taught about prayer. So we walked in, and there was these two people, brother and sister, and we were teaching them about prayer because they wanted us to pray for their uncle. He was in hospital, and we was like, well, why do you pray for them? And we'll teach you how to pray. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. So we taught them the basics, like, prayer's like a sandwich. And we just started taught them, and it's like, you got your two loaves, and you got your first loaf, which is addressing your Heavenly Father, and then you got your last loaf, which is in the name of Jesus Christ. And then in the middle, you got your filling, and now you pray for whatever you want. And so they kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, that sounds good. So we got them to say the prayer. And it was lovely. And they prayed for their uncle. They also prayed for the family who we always visit. Prayed for us, and we went our way. And the next day we thought, okay, well, we'll come back the next day and we'll teach you what we're going to teach today. And actually, she was always open to having us around. Went in the next day. And it was like, oh, how's so and so doing? And it's like, oh, well, they got arrested last night. And after you taught them about prayer, they went around the corner and they ended up stabbing somebody. And I was like, oh my God, progression there. Well, at least they don't have to pray now. At least they can now.
They can take that with them.
Yeah, can take that with them. But yeah, this family, it was just crazy, because there was always something new. The amount of homeless people we taught at this family's home as well. So they were bringing everyone off the street, and I really enjoyed it. It's like, there was always someone to teach. Our teaching pool was always full, and we'd get members around there as well. But there was one woman in the area who, I'm guessing if you both serve in Aberdeen, you probably might have come across this sister as well. Her name was we called her Mags. Don't know if you've heard of that name.
I remember Mags.
Yeah.
I remember that name.
So we was on Mags's Road, and we had a referral 10 doors down, and the referral wasn't in, and it was like we had a member with us, and so we're not gonna let this go to waste. We're not gonna let this member go to waste. So it was like, okay, we'll start knocking on doors. I had this feeling to knock doors. When I started knocking down, I was like, no, we need to knock back, not back on ourselves. So we started knocking back, and then 5 doors later, we ended up at Mags's door. She opened the door. It's like, Elders, I've not seen you in ages. And she was like, come on in. I was like, well, I didn't even know who this lady was at first. And so I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the first door I've actually got in first time. So all 3 of us went in, and she told us a background story that she had been taught by missionaries on numerous occasions. But she didn't always make it to church. But she was like, yeah, I want to hear it. I want you to come around again. So we started going around there, and she at times felt like she was teaching us with the knowledge she knew of the gospel. And I was like, yeah, you just need to be baptized. You're just a dry Mormon, and dry like they sing. And but anyway, we got out to come out to church a good couple of times, and that which. And she said that she didn't do often previously. Elder Liddell wasn't with me long after that, and I ended up doing my kind of first responsibility as a missionary, and that was to train. And I trained an Elder Darren Shiflett, and it's a big long story with Elder Shiflett. At first, I didn't take to him very well, and he knows this. And first transfer, and we did not see eye to eye at all. And I was finding it hard to train, and the work started decreasing because I was the problem. And I'm not afraid to say that, and because the Elder Shiflett was not the problem. And so anyway, it got to the point where I met with presidency interviews. I was like, Elder, I've been president. You need to get me out of here. I can't be with him anymore. And but we know what the sense of humor which our Heavenly Father has, and which I know which filters down to our mission president. Is like, Elder, you're going to be staying for another transfer now. It's like, you got to learn something here, aren't you? So I was like, oh no, I got to spend another. I was so low, but one day. Now this is how I know that we're put in places for a reason, and I also know that our Father in heaven has a good sense of humor, as well as our mission president. And that so one day, me and Elder Shiflett, we had a car as well, which I was blessed with because I didn't drive. So any companion who could drive, and I was in a big area, was like, oh yes, this is good. And by this time, I'd been transferred over to Aberdeen ward itself. So I was now in the big ward in the state.
Yeah.
And so we had a car, and one night we pulled up to go into our flat, and I left the map book in the car, and so we went up to the flat, started planning for the next day, and probably a bit I was really like negative, and the part of me was like, I just can't be bothered to do this anymore, and it was all me doing. But anyway, I took off my name badge, put a name badge down, and Elder Shiflett took off his tie. Now this is I say this because the next part of the story, this is where it's going to kind of be a bit weird. So we both took off our jackets, and I was like, I've left the black book in the car. And so it went down, and it went from me left in the car to Elder, you left it in the car, and I blamed him for it. But what also I didn't know is that I switched a catch on the door, so I locked us out. And so I went to get the map book. We both went back up to the flat, and it was locked. So straight away I blamed Elder Shiflett. It's like, this is your fault. And if you'd have brought the map book in, And it got to the point where I don't think he knew how to respond to me anymore. And so I went and sat in the car, and suddenly all the negative feelings came to me, and I was like, this area is struggling because of me, and I'm treating my companion bad, and suddenly I just turned to him in the car. I was like, yeah, I told him I'm sorry, and I apologized for the way I'd been treating him, and I was like, let's work together, let's get ourselves back in the flat, and let's get this area back up and running. So in a way, there we were, no jackets on. I had no name badge. He had no tie. He had a name badge on. And we was like, okay, well, on George Street, George Street, and they have construction works on there. So let's go around there and see if there's anything we can use to get back into the flat. Because we had left a window open, but it was on the first floor. And I said, well, maybe there's a ladder. And so we walked around there, and there wasn't. So we carried on walking down George Street, and by this time it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we should have been in our flat way now, getting ready for bed, reports in. We told her, district leader, that we locked out of a flat, and he was like, okay, well, keep me updated and that. And we walked down George Street, and 10 o'clock at night, there was an old lady stood outside of her flat, sweeping the floor. And I thought, this is weird. And so we went over to her, and I was like, let her know who we were. And she was looking at us really oddly, as checking out Elder Shippert's name badge to see if we were legit. And then she was like, it looks as like, yeah, there's a ladder around the corner. And there was this like broken down the building, but it was an orange ladder just sat there, and no security or anything. I just sat there. So it was like, oh, brilliant. So we got the ladder, walked straight past where the old lady went. The old lady had gone, and I was like, wow, make it always what you want and that. But it was like, why was there an old lady sweeping the sidewalk at 10 o'clock at night? And then the minute we had spoken to her, she had disappeared. I had no idea. But anyway, I just thought it was quite
one of the three Nephites, probably.
Might have been, yeah, it might have been. there was me and Elder Shiplet walking down this street with an orange ladder, and I never felt it so busy. So many cars driving by. I was like, oh, what's these two guys been doing with this ladder? Walking towards that flat with the window open. We pull up we get up to the flat, and I was like, Elder, I'll climb it. It's my fault. And so I climbed the steps, and opposite us there was a group of African guys just there, stood watching us, talking in their own language, probably about us like, oh, look at these two here. And I walked out the flat, and hardly dressed. And anyway, I open up the window a little bit more, and as I climb over the window, and I nearly trip and fall straight onto the table. And I was like, that would have just summed it all up. And I was like, yeah, well, bang, there you go. But anyway, we got back into the flat, and our relationship just grew and grew, and we ended up baptizing 6 weeks later at the end of that transfer. And nice. I do believe that was because we focused on working together, and we followed the Spirit, because a lot of times the Spirit was very weak because I was not the clear vessel. And by the end of it, Elder Schiffler, absolutely fantastic friend, and he was a great person to have served around. And then at the end of that transfer, I got moved out, and so that ended my 9 months in Aberdeen, when I got moved down to Maryhill, and in Glasgow. So this was my first taste of the Glasgow area, and I had heard so many stories about Glasgow and how rough it could be, and I was like, oh, you're there now. I got served with Elder Kane, Elder David Kane, and he was an English missionary from Manchester, and he was 6 weeks into his mission. and there's a couple of things I remember about Elder Kane is that he knew his scriptures well. He definitely knew the Bible well, but he loved his music. And the amount of times he would talk about his DJing and his music, and I was like, yeah, your part you needs to catch up. But yeah, he knew his scriptures to the point where, and he had a conversation with a Jehovah's Witness one day, and he wasn't. This Jehovah's Witness came before he'd have a go at us, and he just used the scriptures in a very beautiful, polite way. And I was like, wow, I couldn't have done that. I was just amazed of how good Elder Kane knew his scriptures. We a lot of our time. I was only in Maryhill for 6 weeks, and I'm not sure if Elder Kane has been on the podcast yet.
He has.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he told you about his story that happened in Maryhill. That he went toe to toe with an absolute beast of a man. And
I don't think so.
I was going to tell it.
Go ahead.
And but just before I get there, we started teaching a lot of Chinese friends, and our flat was across the road from one of the uni campuses. So the amount of Chinese people we got to teach, and it was like Chinese food was brilliant, and that they were invited around. But yeah, we got to teach a lot. We had a good teaching pool, and yeah, again, we got into a lot of members' homes, and Elder Kane got really had a good relationship with one of the families in the Glasgow ward, and so we always had food to eat, and which was nice. And but one day, Maryhill, the main road in Maryhill, we've all been there, I'm sure, and we were crossing one day. You might even kill me for saying the story, but anyway. We walked across. We was about to cross the road in Maryhill, and this purple Corsa drives by, stops, and I'm looking up the road. I'll step out into the road, and then this purple Corsa reverses and hits me. Doesn't do any damage to me, and it taps me if anything. And Elder Kane, he was like, he was a little bit like angry about this. He's like, yeah, he should be watching where he's going. Knocks on the door. Goes and has a word, and it turns out to be a woman in there. And he opened up the car door, and I thought, okay, that was a big mistake right there, because that scared her. And they started what you call it, having a conversation between each other, and you could see she was getting really fired up. And suddenly, the next thing I knew, this massive beast of a guy, and I looked like Tyson Fury, if you know the boxer, absolute beast, and he comes up across the road like, what's going on here, pal? And it goes up to, and the woman in the car pointing at Elder Kane is like, it's him. And he goes up to him, headbutts him. I probably didn't tell you that one. But, Elder Kane goes flying to the floor, and then this guy then comes up to me, and there's like, do you want one as well, pal? And I'll pass on that one. Thank you very much. And that's he pointed to Elder Kane. It's like, take him, hospital's that way, get lost. And there we were. And Elder Kane had two black eyes and I think a broken nose. But there we were in A&E just figuring out how are we going to tell members of why Elder Kane has two black eyes. The first one was he walked into a lamppost. But members knew, they all knew, and straight away you got into a little bit of a heated conversation with a couple of the locals. And it was a scary experience at the time, but as I look back on it, I was like, that was a funny experience.
Jeez. I don't think he told that story. That's really good.
No, we remember that one.
Oh, well, a couple of days later, we were on the same road again, and this was a spiritual experience. And it's one of those experiences where you think, it only happens on a mission, or it only happens to someone with a high calling or something like that. But anyway, we were stood on the opposite side of the road, a couple of just a little bit further down, and we was at traffic lights, and we were waiting for the green man, and it was a wet day, and this bus pulls up right beside us, And I had two Glasgowian people mouthing off behind me, and that really loud, and not paying attention. And anyway, the Green Man comes on, and suddenly I had this impression, this like whispers, like, "Don't move, don't go." And so anyway, these two Glaswegians push by me, swearing at me, and they walk out into the middle of the road, and suddenly behind the bus comes this screech in the tires, and suddenly this car comes shooting into the road, and hits one of them. Thankfully, nothing fatal or anything like that, but did some damage to the leg. And anyway, Elder Kane looks down as we walk by and is like, "Elder, just keep on walking. Let's get off this road." And I've had enough of this road. But yeah, it was like, yeah, I had that impression just came straight to me. It was like, "Don't move, and don't go out yet." And then the Spirit was just warning me that there was something about to happen. And if it was me, it would have been hit me, or it could have hit Elder Kane. But I was like, wow, the Lord protects us when we're listening, and when we're being obedient to the promptings of the Spirit. And
that's cool.
Yeah,
experience. Goodness.
Oh yeah, it was a good experience, and it's also reassuring to know that if we are listening to the promptings of the Spirit, that we will never go astray, and we will always keep on the right path. I was only there for 6 weeks in Maryhill, and then I got moved down to southwest Glasgow to Pollock, Govan, and that was an experience because I did so much about Govan, and it wasn't a very nice area to be a part of Glasgow. To the point where I've heard members say that if Satan was born on Earth, it would have been Govan. He would have been born. Really got me like, oh wow, I have to walk through this place at night.
Oh boy!
And I was ill during that time in Pollock, and one day my eyes and belly weren't connecting, and so I got a bit greedy with DA appointments, to the point where we had 3 DA appointments one day, and I learned my lesson after that, not to be greedy when it comes to food. And I was ill for a good couple of days after, but Pollock, me and I was there with Elder Tyler Webb, and we both whitewashed the area. So not only as we were 2 new elders into the area, and I was like, I've got to go into areas of this area where I know I've heard dangerous stuff has happened before. So I was like, I don't want to do this. But we got to work. We found some good people to teach, and it was in Govan actually. A couple of African brothers we were able to teach, and we met with a couple of them, and I had to be in their rooms at times because a lot of their friends didn't want anything to do with us. But we had some good conversations, good restoration conversation with them about Joseph Smith, and that they were really interested to know about the 14-year-old boy who saw God and our Saviour. We also again got into family members' homes, and that Pollock wasn't a massive ward, so we had to use the members very wisely, and I just wasn't there long enough because I was only there 6 weeks. I was ill for a part of it, and after that, the president decided to get rid of me and put me down to Paisley. So I didn't have too far to go.
Yeah, that
was my last area, and this is where I had my last companion, which was Elder Adam Cummings, and it was good to be with another Englishman who I had a lot of common with him with the football side of our world, and how we got along with a lot of football chats here and there when we could. But yeah, again, he was someone who was enthusiastic to talk about the gospel, to teach. I remember listening to his podcast, and I know that he told a story about me on it about my hair. And because apparently one day, I'm just going to say it again, because one day we was out in the rain for the whole day, went back to the flat every time to get changed because it was soaked to skin. And he would say, Elder, why don't you wear a hat? And I was like, well, I'll mess up my hair if I wear a hat. And so I'd rather get it all wet. And I remember hearing that story from him. But we had a lot of fun and a lot of good teaching moments and that, to the point where we did like our own little mission report where we in England we have this football newscast where they update you with all the scores throughout the country. So we decided to have our own little one with a missionary, just as a little bit of fun and that. So that was good. And if you listen to this, you'll remember that.
Nice.
Yeah. We got to I was there for 4 months and that, so he was there a little bit longer than that, as he was new to the mission when he arrived at Paisley. Now throughout my mission, every week we would write to mission president, and I'd always teach the gospel with how I see what connected with me. So I'd kind of teach it in a way which referred to football because I understood football and I could connect it to the gospel. I'd know when not to do that because there were certain people that I couldn't teach who wouldn't get it. But I always wrote my presidency letters in a football kind of news report. And at first, because I started doing it in my first area, I was like, I didn't think about, my mission president, he might not even know anything about soccer. But I'd do it every week, and as I would meet with President Frederick, and he would, it's like, I love your mission letters, and he'll let me know. I was like, hopefully this week the team can do a lot better. And
Nice.
One thing I absolutely loved about President Frederick is that it's like he communicated to your level and he got to know you, and he got to know every single one of us individually, and that through his interviews, through his letters. And I really felt that about me because on my last ever interview with him, before I came home, he was telling me a story that him and Sister Frederick went to Frankfurt for Mission President's conference. And he said to me that on the way back, he was stuck in the airport. He was playing, I remember his plane had been delayed. But anyway, he was there watching this TV, and there was a football match going on the TV, and some team in Germany. And anyway, he said he didn't have a clue what was fully going on. But he's like, well, you notice that one team had absolutely been battering this other team. But then in the final stages, this other team just went down the other end and scored and won 1-0. And then he looks at me and he's like, Elder, don't take your eye off the ball. And it's like, you're going home in a couple of weeks' time, and you make sure you're focused and you don't give away that final goal. You make sure you don't get caught out. And straight away I was like, wow, he after 2 years, I feel like he's seen my news reports, and he's talking on my level now. But no, it was great. It was a great. I loved it, and I was like, and he was right. You keep focused, and you've only got 3 weeks left, but you can still do a lot in 3 weeks. And Elder Cummings is counting on you, and the people you're teaching is counting on you, and that was great. I mean, I never once really thought about, I can't wait to get home, and just because I was always excited and pumped to do the work. But after that interview with President Frederick, I was like, keep your eye on the ball, keep your head in the game, and so I did, and the day came when I sadly had to leave the mission. Got picked up by my parents, so they got to come and meet my mission president and wife.
Cool.
Yeah, and then it was back off to Nottingham at the time.
Wow, I love it.
That was a great journey you just took us on, for sure.
Yeah.
Any have you been back up to Scotland since then?
I've been up twice. I went up for one of my companions, Elder Samuel Little, got married to a sister from the Kirkcaldy ward.
Oh, nice.
So I went up there for the wedding. So it was good to see the members of the ward again. And it was over 10 years ago now. That was, but I went up 2 years ago. I went up camping in Loch Lomond.
Oh, nice.
Which was nice. And then I went to Pollock Ward for church, and I got a DA out of it as well, which was nice. It was like old times, and actually, yeah, it was. That's the only times I've been up to Scotland, which it's a shame because, like, end of the day, it's near enough on our doorstep, and and so I don't take more advantage of being able to go back up to Scotland, but I should do. I mean, it's probably about 2-hour drive. No, about 3-hour drive from where I live right now to Edinburgh. So I should go up more.
Yeah, you gotta represent us who can't just pop up there.
That's right.
I get reminded of that every time I speak to an American companion.
That's great. So you mentioned tons of areas, companions, some members. Are there any other missionaries you want to just shout out who we should try to get on here?
Well, Elder Luke's. I think you've already.
Yeah, we've had Tobias on. Yes.
Yeah, well, I served with him for about a couple of days. Well, Tyler Webb. I don't know if he's been on.
We've heard his name, and from what I understand, he lives pretty close to us in Colorado. So he's one I need to track down. He's on my to-do list for sure.
Zach's gonna go chap him.
Just knock on his door.
I would say Alistair Farley.
Okay.
Because I know he was always enthusiastic about the work, and always had a lot of good stories, spiritual stories, a lot of funny stories, and he was just a wildfire at times, and I just loved it. And so if Alistair hasn't been on, I'd definitely say mention about Alistair. And
yeah, I've reached out to Alistair and haven't heard back from him. So if he's listening, definitely check your messages on Facebook, or if any way we can get in touch, just let us know. We'd be happy to chat with him.
I'll have to drop him a message then. Make sure he gets on it.
There you go. That helps too. We do love referrals.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
Great. Well, this has been awesome, Allan. Thank you for taking the time and reminiscing with us, walking us through everything. Some good stories. Some stories, we've had companions of yours on here, and some stuff they didn't share that you did. So
yeah,
that's what this is about. We're putting together the whole image here for everybody. So that's really good.
I'm grateful I got invited and was able to do this. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. We're appreciative that you stuck with us. I know that initially there was a need to cancel, and now we know why a little bit better, because your wife's expecting. So that probably was one variable of it. But we're glad that we finally were able to connect and get together and reminisce about Scotland, Allan. It's been great.
Thank you. Yes.
And we, as always, we want to express our love to you as our brother in Scotland, and it's a unique connection that we all have through that land. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And we wish you the best. Good luck on the upcoming adventure. That's exciting. And we'll chat more later.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Cheerio, Allan. We'll talk to you more. Love you, brother.
Have a good Sabbath.
You too. Bye.